1 year ago, Al Unser Jr. clinched his first PPG championship despite hitting the wall in Nazareth. Now, a second-generation driver looks to capture his first PPG crown. Michael Andretti comes here with a record 7 victories this season. A combination of speed, determination, and aggressiveness put Michael in the points lead. Bobby Rahal has won the PPG championship twice in his illustrious career. 1991 brought him only 1 win, but steadiness has kept him in the hunt. He is here 13 points behind Michael. Al Unser Jr. has tasted victory twice this season, but he needs a win here today to stay in the fight. His hard-charging style makes him an ever-present threat. The season-long battle for the PPG Cup continues at Pennsylvania International Raceway in Nazareth, the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, a blustery fall day at Pennsylvania International Raceway. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page, and the championship fight for the PPG Cup continues here today, but it could be a day in which a dream comes true for Michael Andretti. Yesterday, he celebrated his birthday. He's 29. He's dreamed all of his life about winning the IndyCar Championship. He is the only man of the 3 in the points fight who could wrap it up today. Let's consider this. Michael grew up right here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. He learned to drive on these streets. He started out at age 6 in little go-karts and motorcycles. He went to high school here, and of course, the Andretti name, because of his father, is legend here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. The stands are rooting for Michael Andretti. He is the only one of the 3 that can wrap up the championship. But what of the other 2? Let's go down trackside and take a closer look at this championship fight with Gary Gerald.
Paul, it's really amazing when you consider that early in this season, Michael Andretti was as far down as 17th in the point standings. But with all of the wins and all of the poles and all of the track records this year, he now has a 13-point lead over Bobby Rahal. Michael Andretti, uncharacteristically, despite all those records this year, starts inside row 3 today. He's back in the pack. He's not with the front runners. And the primary contender, Bobby Rahal, starts in front of him. He's inside in row number 2. Now, Rahal and the team aren't conceding a thing. They don't say it's desperation time yet, but in reality, if he doesn't win or at least finish in the top 3 today, any hopes of derailing and slowing the momentum of what seems to be the Andretti Championship Express would go right out the window prior to Laguna Seca. Incidentally, his teammate Al Unser Jr. still mathematically alive. He starts in row 5. Now, in the front row, let's check with our colleague Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, Emerson Fittipaldi and Rick Mears may be mathematically eliminated from the championship, but they're going after this race. This is a Roger Penske racetrack, and here on the front row, the 2 Penske cars occupy those positions. Rick Mears also has completed a sweep. In 5 IndyCar races this year on ovals, Rick Mears has swept the pole position in all of them. But keep in mind, he is the leading money winner here at Nazareth, but he's yet to win this one.
So the championship and the race itself, 2 distinctly different battles, but the challenge is the same, this track at Nazareth, Derek.
This is a very unusual 1-mile tri-oval. It's been called in the past a left-handed road course because of the elevation changes and the braking areas into these unusual corners. Willie T. Reeves actually said it was like racing in a high-speed cave. But the real key to this racetrack is the highlighted area here, exiting turn 2 and the downhill run into the braking area at turn 3. This is where most of the passing and action will take place during the afternoon. But the key to the race is traffic. You have to be able to read the traffic quickly, you have to read it properly, and you have to read it safely, because a mistake here at the speeds they run can do an awful lot of damage.
So the IndyCar season is winding down. The championship undecided. Only 2 races yet to go, though the championship could certainly be decided today. We're ready to run at Nazareth, Pennsylvania International Raceway, and we are ready to start engines.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
from Ben Dixon of Robert Bosch Corporation. The Indy cars lined up on the pit road here at Nazareth are ready to go. The front row, a total Penske operation. You get a few glimpses of our onboard cameras here. Al Unser Jr. has one, as does Bobby Rahal, and of course, Michael Andretti. So the fight is about to begin. Two distinctly different battles. That for the race itself, and that for the championship. And the focus is on this man, Michael Andretti, as he is prepared to perhaps face his destiny here today in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. They begin to roll away, and the race is about to begin. So as all the cars roll away, we're ready to run at Nazareth. Now here's the starting grid, brought to you by the Die Hard Battery, with more power when you need it most. On the pole, it's Rick Mears, who earned his 6th pole this year with a new track record. And Emerson Fittipaldi outside, going for his 3rd win in a row here at Nazareth. The second row, Bobby Rahal, clinging to title hopes, but he hasn't won on a mile oval since 1984. And Mario Andretti, who won back here in 1969 when this was a dirt track. In the 3rd row, Michael Andretti, he's won 7 of the last 11 IndyCar races. And John Andretti, giving the Andretti's family 3 of the top 6 starting positions. Then Scott Pruitt, his best start here on an oval this year. And Scott Brayton, his 5th top 10 start this season. In the 5th row, it's Al Unser Jr., the defending PPG Cup champion, and Danny Sullivan, who won here in his championship season of 1988. In the 6th row, Arie Luyendyk, winner of the Phoenix Mile in April, and Eddie Cheever, who finished 6th in last year's race here as a rookie. And we take a look down through the remainder of this starting field. Paul Tracy is back in the cockpit and ready to go racing. A.J. Foyt with 33 wins on mile tracks, the winningest miler in all of IndyCar racing. And there's the rest of this starting field as the cars are lined up now behind the PPG pace car, and we are ready to run. Should be a fantastic afternoon, actually watching 3 different battles: the battle for the race itself, the battle for the championship, and the battle to get into the Marlboro Challenge. The weather conditions, cloudy, nice cool temperatures, and we're just hoping that the rains stay away. Though the last check up and down the pits was they'd all checked with the different pilots that they know in the area, and they said, I think we're going to get a nice quiet race in with regard to weather. Looking back from Bobby Rahal's car, what's on the line today? Well, 200 laps around this circuit. We're expecting the first pit stops to come between the 65th and the 70th lap. Of course, that could change depending on the yellow flag conditions. And Emerson Fittipaldi, who starts on the outside of the front row, is the defending champion here today. In the final practice session, Paul Tracy, interestingly enough, was the fastest car in the final warm-up. And now the field aligned. Rick Mears, the pole sitter, as they bunch up very tightly at the front of the field, coming off the final turn and taking a look at Nick Fenoro on the start-finish line. The green flag comes out. Bobby Rahal comes in to challenge, but he gets forced back as Fittipaldi drops into 2nd place, and we've got trouble. Scott Pruitt gets into the wall, as does Danny Sullivan. There's another car there. Derek.
Big crash here at turn 1. This is the thing everybody fears. It is so fast. This is a normally taken flat out. Danny Sullivan got taken into that accident, no fault of his own, and Scott Goodyear, we see him also wrapped up with Brayton and Scott Pruitt.
Just exactly what you suggested. Such a tight little track. Let's go back and take a look at this situation as it developed.
Now what's back in the pack? Watch Scott Brayton. It doesn't happen there, but look at Pruitt. Loses control, gets the car sideways. Now he's going to back out of our picture. Now he's going to collect Scott Brayton. That's it. See Brayton. Oh, he can't squeeze through. Bang! Lifts Pruitt's car off the road. And look at the rest of the cars. All tangled up. No fault of theirs. Gathers in Danny Sullivan and Scott Goodyear.
Tony Bettenhausen climbed hard on the brakes to get away from that. Danny Sullivan was involved in it, and he's with Gary Gerald right now.
And Paulie pulls the earplugs out as the helmet comes off. Boy, this is the toughest way to start any race. What happened, Danny?
Well, basically, something just happened up in front. First, I guess Scott spun. I had somebody down the inside, so I couldn't avoid to go there, stood on the brakes, and he backed into the wall. Then Scott Brayton hit him, and then I plowed into him, and Scott plowed into me.
Well, I'm glad you're all right, and I'm glad you're able to smile.
I am, too. Crazy way to start a race.
All right, he goes away. Here comes Scott Pruitt. Scott Brayton is right here as well. Let me bring our camera over here. If we have an opportunity, here's Scott Brayton, and we can get a word from him. Scott?
Well, it just Scott got loose. I got a little loose coming off a 3 there, and so I was being cautious, and I was high because Al Jr. got inside me, and Scott lost it, and I thought that maybe he'd stay down because I was on the outside, and he started to come over, and I didn't have anywhere to go, and unfortunately we hit.
I'm sorry, it's that kind of a start.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Difficult day.
Paul?
So this that quickly, not 300 yards down the track, and this is the situation that resulted. And Derek Daly, we can look at this whole thing again. It started right on the green flag, and this is on board with Al Unser Jr.
Now the left side of the picture is where we see the incident begin to happen. That's Scott Pruitt right ahead of Al Jr. This is turn 1. We're now coming in. Brayton has held back a bit, but watch Scott Pruitt on the left side of Al Jr. in against the curb. Now he loses control. He's lost control. The car spins. Now Brayton makes a decision to go to the outside. Al Jr. gets away with it. Brayton gets caught up in the crash.
You know, it's almost as if little Al anticipated that as we watch it here.
Now look at Pruitt's left wheels go over the white line. Maybe that lost him that critical grip on the inside of the car, but he loses control. Now remember, Brayton said he decided to go to the outside right here. That's it. Can't avoid it. Locks the wheels. It's all over.
Thankfully, the speeds weren't up to full speed at that point, or it could have been much worse. Let's go now down to the pits again. Here's Jan Beekes.
Scott, we saw the trouble you got into. What caused the spin?
Well, it looked like, you know, somebody got on the binders in front of me, and I slowed down. I got hit from the rear and got turned sideways. And once you get sideways there, there's nothing really else to do. And, you know, it's really tough because everybody on the Budweiser team, they've been working so hard, and we've been coming on better and better this season. But, you know, it's just a tough way into the day.
So they try and complete the cleanup down just off of turn 1 as the PPG pace car with Gordon Johncock at the wheel is already out and collected up the field. 3rd year in a row that this event has been punctuated with an opening lap crash. Rick Mears, of course, as the pole sitter leads. Still doing the cleanup here at Nazareth. Of course, the field is circulating under the yellow flag. We have an opportunity now to look at it again from an angle you've already seen, and thinking about what Scott Pruitt said about someone getting on the brakes in front of him, Derek.
Well, he tries to get down inside John Andretti. Now, it's hard for us to tell that they got on the brakes there. This is normally a flat-out corner, but Pruitt just loses control on the inside, and then you can see where Brayton, Danny Sullivan, and Scott Goodyear, my word, I mean, how you can get dragged into an accident when you're on the outside line, the clean line, minding your own business, and suddenly your day is over.
What may, in fact, you see as we look, this is back from Bobby Rahal. Look at Michael, as Michael in this championship fight came right up and closed on Rahal, and it looks like Michael may have been on the binders there.
Well, that's an interesting shot here we see. Michael comes right up behind. You see he actually swerved away to the outside of Rahal to avoid him, and that's right at the instant that Scott Pruitt began to lose control. So maybe Pruitt had to dab the brakes, and that's what put the car out of control.
All right, so they continue the cleanup now of the Brayton car out there. Let's go back to the pits and Jan Beekes.
Thanks, Paul. In here in the Bobby Rahal, just speaking with Barry Green, there's been a position change on the track. You'll notice that Michael Andretti is ahead of Bobby Rahal. They've had some talks with the kart officials as to why that happened. Bobby said he slowed down for the yellow, but yet Michael's now in front of him. They're still trying to sort this one out here, and let's go down to Gary Gerald, who may have more on that.
Well, here's the other principal in that unfortunate start of this race, Scott Goodyear. Great disappointment, obviously, and it appears that it was one of those chain reaction type incidents.
It was. I think everybody had cold tires, and I was just trying to get the McKenzie car, the tires to warm up a little bit, and tried to get the power down going down the front straight. Tires are very, very cold. I think everybody today, with the cold weather, had to take 4 or 5 laps to bring the temperature up. We got through one, and there's cars everywhere, and I had nowhere to go. I had a car beside me, and I had the wall on the right side of me, and I just ended up hitting right in the back of Danny Sullivan. So, I mean, I think people are trying to do too much too soon.
This is one of those situations everybody knows about the tires and getting the temperature up, and is it a case of just somebody getting frustrated or getting a little too antsy and pulling the trigger too quickly?
Well, I don't know how the whole situation started, the chain reaction started. All I know is when I came around, all of a sudden, you know, there was nowhere to go. So I was reading sponsors' names on the side of cars that I shouldn't be seeing at that point in time.
Well, he maintains a sense of humor in a tough situation. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
We're glad to see that Scott Goodyear is in fact okay. All of the drivers being reported okay out of that accident. Now, this accident, interestingly enough, has a challenge to another situation, and that is the Marlboro Challenge. This is the way the Marlboro Challenge, to be run at Laguna Seca, and you'll see it live here on ESPN, is lined up with Michael and then Rick Emerson, Bobby Ray Hall, Al Unser Jr. Locked positions, as are Danny Sullivan, John Andretti, Ari Luyendyk. All of those drivers have either won or sat on the pole. Mario Andretti is well ahead in his position because of the points he holds coming into this race, 108 points. The real battle is for 10th place, and it's between Eddie Cheever with 75 points, Scott Pruitt with 61, and Scott Brayton with 62. Given this accident, this would appear to give a lock to Eddie Cheever for the 10th and final starting position in the challenge.
And that was something we were going to follow all through the afternoon here, because it's so interesting, because that is a star-studded event in a race that everybody wants to be in, and that was going to be one of the primary points that Pruitt and Brayton were trying to oust Eddie Cheever from that position, but it's not to be.
As they take Scott Brayton's car away, oddly enough, the 4 drivers in that crash occupy positions 10, 11, 12, and 13 in the PPG point standings as the field circles around on the worn-up lane. An unusual view, if you consider it. This is the view back from Bobby Rahall's car to John Andretti, but you notice there's grass. Well, there was for a moment on both sides. That's because they're using the warm-up lane here at Nazareth, which was designed, interestingly enough, by the leader of the race at this moment, Rick Mears. And he designed it after his accident at Saint Air Speedway in Saint-Pie, Canada, because he thought that if there was a separate lane, there's a very good view of it over Michael's shoulder, was inside and away from the racing surface, then it would be safer to warm up on. But it also has helped, not just today, but in the past, getting them past accidents. What's interesting, Derek, we're not running a mile now.
That's right. So they're actually, the laps are clicking off here as if they are a full mile, but they're not. So they're really saving a lot of fuel. But fuel has never been a major problem here at Nazareth. But you know, you mentioned the warm-up lane. It is a critical safety factor they have built in here, because oval tracks, the speed is so high when the quick cars are running fast and online that when you have a slower car exit the pit lane on oval tracks, he has nowhere to go to warm his car up except be on the inside, which is where the quick boys like to run, sometimes on ovals. So you see how advantageous this warm-up lane can be when they're really running hard during practice.
10 laps are in the record book of the 200-lap distance here, all of them, of course, under yellow. But for Rick Mears, it's the first time that he has led the opening lap on a 1-mile oval since Milwaukee, the Milwaukee 200 in 1989. Now, let us consider for a moment Michael Andretti once again. He's really at the top of his game, a chance to wrap up the championship, and for him, a good week, because they're talking about an offer from Ferrari to drive Formula One. So we had an opportunity to talk with Michael. We asked him about those discussions with Ferrari.
I guess there still is a slight possibility. You know, there are some things going with Ferrari, but as you know, I have my contract here, and I really wouldn't do it unless everybody was happy in the deal. And you know, I feel that I do have a moral obligation to Carl Haas and Newman Haas team, and you know, it's up to them to make it happen with Ferrari if they can.
Michael has 3 separate major goals in his life. One can be realized today, the championship. Another is an Indianapolis 500 crown, and a third is a Formula One ride and a Formula One crown. His owner, Carl Haas. Now, I haven't talked to Carl, but the indication is that Carl is willing to hold a discussion with Ferrari if they want to buy Michael's contract from him. Michael, of course, can't freely express everything that he feels in that, because he is, in fact, under contract to Carl.
That's right, but I had a little discussion with him yesterday, and when I asked the question, there was a little glint in his eye that says he would, I think, like to seriously discuss a Ferrari contract. I would love to see him go over there to Ferrari, because I really think he can represent American racing to such a high degree, and also, particularly if he wins the championship, I think it will be a great boost to American racing and world racing and Formula One to have a real star from this series go over there and mix it. And I really believe he could mix it very quickly with the big boys over there.
Wouldn't be too bad to see the Andretti named twice in the World Championship roster as world champion as well. pace car is off. The green flag now flies at the start-finish line, and Rick Mears leads them down to the first turn as race action resumes on lap 13 with the green flag. Fittipaldi drops into second place, chasing Rick right now. Penske organization at the top of the field. Michael sits in that fourth position right behind his father, Mario. Mario comes to the inside and gets past Emerson Fittipaldi. But look how wide he comes off the corner. That'll cost him. Can he hold it on the backstretch?
And it takes Emerson a couple of laps to warm these tires up, because now look at Michael. This is what we mentioned in the opening. This is turn 2. If you can come fast out of 2, there's a downhill run to that braking area for turn 3, and Michael goes around the outside of Emerson.
So now Michael comes around Emerson Fittipaldi, and Bobby Rahal, along with John Andretti, closes up behind Fittipaldi as well. It would seem to me that it's more than just a warm-up situation here.
Let's watch Rahal, because for some reason Emerson is having trouble warming those tires, getting this car to run hard enough right after that yellow flag situation. So Rahal is now about to fill the mirrors of Fittipaldi.
Rahal comes to the inside of Fittipaldi, but Fittipaldi gets into the corner just a bit faster. On board, Bobby Rahal, Fittipaldi just ahead.
Things happen so fast here at Nazareth. Remember, 20 seconds are there about every time they go into the same corner, so you hardly have time to breathe. Here we are in turn 2 again.
16 laps into the record book. Fittipaldi still being chased by Bobby Rahal. John Andretti content to lie back just a little bit and watch this battle. So at the top of the order, it's Rick Mears, then Mario, then Michael. Michael Andretti certainly in a position to try and clinch the championship, but Rahal very close behind him and still very much in the fight, as Michael tries to find some racing room to the outside of his father.
Oh, he took a very wide line through turn 2. He got a good run off Mario under his rear wing, gets a nice draft, pulls out, but look what happens when you don't make the pass. You suddenly lose 6 or 7 car lengths.
Report comes now from Fittipaldi's Penske pit, and that is that indeed tire temperature was a very serious problem for Fittipaldi. They say nothing else. That may have indicated, in fact, that they're up to operating temperature now, and it's going to be all right.
That's right. Things have settled down a bit. We now see the gap between him and Michael just about stable. Rahal not able to make any advances on Fittipaldi, so everything is up to operating temperature. But it's interesting. Penske's have done so much testing here, and yet Fittipaldi, who really wasn't that comfortable. Oh, we see him, Rick, go by a back marker here. Emerson really was not that comfortable after their test session here.
Michael Andretti won the inaugural race here at Nazareth. The crowd went nuts then. Can you imagine how they'll feel if he wraps up a championship here today? Speaking of tire temperatures, cold tires, we have a situation here that is not dissimilar from the one we had 2 weeks ago at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And that is, and there's Michael. I thought he had him. I really thought he was going to get his dad there. At Elkhart Lake, we had 2 days of warm weather, and then the temperatures dropped, and that was in part, many people feel, to blame for the situation that happened there with Rick Mears, where he had 2 tires go down. The Penske organization has confirmed that was totally a product of suspension. As we watch Mario Andretti closing right in on Rick Mears and making a shot for the lead. Boy, he pulled her right down on top of the curb on that one. And Mario Andretti continues in second, and Michael is right there. We've had the same situation here. 2 relatively warm days, now temperatures in the 50s, and that could be exactly what explains Emerson Fittipaldi's tire stick problem there as they came back to the green flag.
That's right, and in the opening we mentioned traffic. Traffic can be a critical situation and a problem here. That's exactly what we saw happen to Rick Mears. They were lapping some back markers. Rick got caught just for a couple of seconds, and immediately Mario and Michael were all over the back of his car. Now look, Rick now has 3 or 4 car lengths, but Michael is so anxious to try and get past his dad.
So at Pennsylvania International Raceway, Mario Andretti in second place, being chased by his son Michael. Rick Mears is the leader of this race. He started on the pole in record time. Here is the fight, not just for the race for second place, but for the championship. Michael Andretti has to run just as hard as he can. He would really love to wrap this championship up today. But of course, Bobby Rahal has something to say about it. Look at Michael, boy, just that fast. But Mario left him some room.
He makes it down the inside, a bold move. He tried it 3 or 4 times earlier, but Mario, I think, knew that Michael was going to continue to come down. That was turn 3. Again, Mario right at the end of the move said, okay, here's the lane, let him go.
Jeff Andretti was sitting just ahead of him, so another whole family situation. Michael's brother, Mario's other son, was just ahead as part of the traffic. That's Willie T. Ribbs that they've just moved past in that straightaway there. but they're looking ahead, trying to find out what the traffic will be. And here on this track, you can't see that far ahead. So Rick Mears is still in front. Now Michael, then Mario. Bobby Rahal runs in 5th place, trying to catch up. Emerson Fittipaldi still struggling in 4th. Rick Mears is the leader as he crosses over, completing the 31st lap of the 200-lap run here. He has been the leader right from the start, but of course an accident involving 4 cars on the start has affected the average speed somewhat. It's at 90 miles an hour now, but it should come up. At the top of the order, Mears, Michael Andretti is 2nd, then Mario, then Emerson Fittipaldi in 4th, Bobby Rahal 5th, John Andretti is 6th, Allinger Jr. 7th, Arie Luyendyk 8th, 9th is Paul Tracy, and A.J. Foyt runs in 10th place. Now, Rick Mears is a master of these short tracks, an absolute master on an oval. Part of that is the skill in knowing how to get through traffic. We asked Rick Mears about traffic, especially here at Nazareth, and how it poses a problem for a front runner.
When you start the race, you run into traffic very quick, and there's a lot of variation in speeds, you know, between cars. So you're having to continuously deal with traffic here, and that's a very important part. And it's a lot of times it boils down to who gets the brakes in traffic. You know, it's like going to work one day and every light you come to is red instead of green. You know, there's days everyone you come to is green. Well, there's races like that where I've had all green lights when I get to traffic, and there's races I've had all red. So it's a matter of what kind of day it is.
Well, Rick, let me explain traffic to you. Michael Andretti just that quickly, again taking the advantage of the traffic. Rick had to breathe it just a little bit, and that's when Michael struck.
The face of the racing at Nazareth changes so quickly as soon as you get on traffic. Now remember, when you roll out of the throttle just a little bit, you don't just lose time right there. The length of the next straight, in fact, you lose all your momentum, and Michael just absolutely capitalized on Rick having to back off slightly, and in a slingshot move, absolutely sliced by him.
Well, Michael Andretti, where he needs to be, where he wants to be, at the front of this field. And by the way, the crowd has not found their seats since we restarted this race. They are watching Michael's charge to the front, and it has been spectacular. So Michael Andretti now has led 15 of the 16 races thus far, and Jeff Andretti, his brother, is just in front of him as he comes up to overhaul Jeff, and then Willie T. Ribbs as he separates himself from 2nd place Rick Mears. Let's get an update from the pit area and Jan Beekes.
When you're talking about traffic, Paul, it also has to do with the crew. In other words, it's not just the driver and what he does in practice. What it is how they tune the cars even in the practice sessions. I talked with Ed Nathman, who is working with the, obviously, Andretti organization, and they specifically have some special aerodynamic devices to try and make the car work better in traffic, running a little more downforce on the left, in other words, on the left front wings. Look for Michael to always leave the left wing open for additional downforce for the front.
In the championship battle, if Michael Andretti stays where he is, if Bobby Rahal stays in 5th place, they would finish the day, Michael with 217 points and Bobby Rahal with 194, and that would clinch the championship for Michael.
Michael still leads, the car handling very well. We have seen him make a lot of moves on the outside of turn 2. Now turn 2 is the key to this racetrack. This is turn 2 here. Michael can seem to vary his line here, which gives him a big advantage not only in traffic but also when he caught Mears.
Average speed of the race coming up as Mario Andretti closes on Rick Mears, now 100.9 miles an hour. So in a very short interval, we brought the average speed of the race up 10 miles an hour. And now the Kmart, Haviland, and Lola in the hands of Mario Andretti is challenging Rick Mears.
Rick is not in good shape here. Rick is not handling very well because Mario has absolutely galloped up behind him, gobbled up that lead. I don't know what's wrong with the Penske's, but there's a bit of an inconsistency coming into this. This has allowed Mario to catch up, and Rick slides slightly back.
Mario right there. Mario, by the way, I might add, Mr. Daly, scored a victory on this very circuit. Not only on the dirt track here, but here 2 days ago, he and I teamed up. And look at him here. As a result of the inspiration that I gave him on a go-kart race, which we won, there goes my man Mario right into 2nd place.
Oh, listen, don't talk so easy. Side-by-side stuff down at turn 3. Rick did not relinquish the line, though. They went side-by-side, wheel to wheel, all the way down through turn 3, but now Emerson, his teammate, is catching Rick.
Terrific, and it slows down. He slows down as Rahal comes along. Rick Mears pulls off of the line. Rahal comes around, so does Emerson Fittipaldi.
Something wrong with Rick. There must be. We're inside now with Bobby Rahal behaving himself here. Rahal running in a very good, solid third place, but it's not enough for the championship because Michael is leading. Rahal has to get up behind and catch and try and pass Michael.
Bobby Rahal jumps up to third with that situation. It's Michael, Mario, Rahal, then Emerson Fittipaldi. And Mears back to 5th place, but now seems to be back running at full chat. In the Penske pits, well, discussion underway. Nigel Bennett, designer of the Penske cars, as well as Roger Penske. Certainly they're all on the radio to Rick, trying to find out exactly what's happening. And what the corner workers are telling everyone is that there is an occasional sputtering coming out of Rick Mears' car. Let's just watch him for a moment here. Maybe we can get some idea. Rick Mears now with John Andretti finding a line to the outside, trying to maneuver his way past Rick. Perhaps Gary Gerald can give us an update on Rick's situation.
Well, Paul, just as that was happening, we were checking with Richard Buck, the chief mechanic for this car, and he said, we're trying to play it cool. We're concerned about staying out of traffic. Then the engine misfire was reported. Now they're getting ready here for the possibility of having Mears come in. And, of course, you start with the electronics, and generally you start with the engine management system, the black box. That's the first thing you replace. We don't know if he's going to be brought in immediately. Obviously, if that problem continues, they'll have to bring him in.
Well, you saw Rick's chief mechanic, Richard Buck, there in conversation with other members of the crew, no doubt planning out exactly how they will attack the car when it comes in, because this most certainly is not a routine situation for Rick Mears, and that engine not sounding well. Roger Penske normally is in extensive radio conversation with Rick Mears. He monitors that car. Michael Andretti, now he's at the front of the field. Mario Andretti in 2nd place. Bobby Rahal with the maneuver, and Willie T. Ribbs against the wall.
Willie T. Ribbs.
He was the man that you mentioned, found this a very difficult track.
Willie told me it's like racing inside a high-speed cave.
Little fire there at the back. Originally would be the turbocharger, the oil there. Would leak out and light up and give you the orange flame. But with the tire and bodywork there, while it's not a danger to Willie, that fire could grow. But there is the safety team right on location, ready to help Willie out of the car. And he releases the brakes very wisely. Kept his foot on the brakes, keeping the car up against the wall. Let's go to the pits and Jan Beekes.
Andretti is taking advantage of the yellow flag here. These teams know that on this track it's so difficult to overtake that this is where the race can be won or lost. We see some adjustments done to the front wings. Michael Andretti's out of here. Whoa.
12.8 seconds, and Michael Andretti back into the action. Gary Gerald's down further in the pits.
Boy, traffic jam here, Paul. We've got Fittipaldi on one side, Mears on another, Unser, Rahal all in. Paul Tracy gets out of the Penske pits first. Dyke goes by. Mears goes out. There's Fittipaldi. Oh, boy.
So with that yellow coming on the 51st lap, early, considering what the original projected window was, earlier still if you consider the early long yellow session. But the leader decided to come in, and you generally have to follow him in.
And a lot of changes on this pit stop. A lot of changes. Some people got very fast pit stops. Some people, when they couldn't pass on the racetrack, they actually got the job done in the pit lane.
Now Rick Mears, as they clean up Willie Ribbs' accident, is back into the pits. He made the first stop, and now he is back in as we're still under yellow. Let's go to Gary.
Paul, the body work on the backside is coming off, and now they shut the engine down. So it is a serious problem. We suspect that might be the case, and as we indicated, the first thing they'll do is they'll try to make a change in the electronic system. Richard Buck has completed that change very quickly. Now the body work comes back on. Starter in position to try to refire the engine under the luxury of the yellow. But now we see the field going by. He will lose a lap. He lights up the tires and gets out of here big time, but they didn't save the lap.
Jerry Breon at the back of the car fired that starter up as fast as he could, but as he rolled out of the pits, it was the pace car coming by at the blend line at the end of the pit lane, and as a result of that, Rick Mears will line up at the back of the order. They continued to work on Willie T. Ribbs' car. You saw Willie T. with Dr. Terry Trammell as they walked away from the accident scene. It's obvious that Willie T. is okay. Well, we're actually running under yellow on the 55th lap. We'll give you the rundown as of lap number 50. The yellow is out now, of course, because Willie T. Ribbs caught the wall. Just a quick little spin. Looked like the back end may have washed out, though no one had a very clear or quick view of the situation. And there you see Rick Mears out behind John Andretti, and we mentioned his blending position. He was fighting for a moment there with John to try to get in the line.
Screaming to try and get out of the pit lane, to try not get too far, try to beat the pace car first, but when he doesn't, he can blend in behind whatever car he comes out onto the racetrack behind.
And there is Michael Andretti. He is the leader. How did he get the lead? Well, with a very brazen move, counting on some traffic. Here is the onboard camera view.
This is up to turn 2. Now remember, Rick Mears goes to the inside. There's the traffic. Rick backs out of it. Michael says, okay, I have a good handling car. Here I go. Sails around both cars. Now remember, Rick is trapped in behind. Michael gets the job done and pulls back down behind Dennis Vitolo.
So Michael Andretti is where he needs to be. He's at the front of this field, but Bobby Rahal is running in 3rd place. The front of the field is Michael and then Mario. As they continue to clean up the debris from Willie Ribbs' accident, it looks like it will be a few minutes longer before they come back up to racing speed, and this second yellow of the day will again adversely affect the average speed of the race, as we're running now at 103.1 miles an hour. What about Al Unser Jr., the other contender in the points fight? Gary Gerald?
Their day has been complicated just a bit. They're happy down here, Paul, because they picked up 2 spots on that first pit stop. They gained 2 positions, but Rick Gallas just told us that Al can hear him okay, but Gallas can't hear Al in return. They've got a communication problem with the radios, so that's going to complicate things the rest of the afternoon.
Well, the Quaker stayed on camera. Onboard camera view over Al Unser Jr.'s shoulder as he runs in 5th place. And they continue to circle this 1-mile circuit under the yellow flag, and there's the accident area. If the race would finish right now, Michael Andretti would finish with 217 points. Look at this. This is up at Michael Andretti's house. It's a golf course that he is building around his house. Apparently, and a few little additions to the house. Already planning on a championship. Let's hope he gets it. Michael Andretti, the Quaker State onboard camera, showing you Gordon Johncock in the PPG pace car just ahead. Still quite a bit of cleanup to do. Debris and oil on the track. Later today, the Senior PGA Tour, the Vantage Championship. Final round from Clemens, North Carolina. That's at 5 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN. As we run under yellow, second yellow of the day. The first yellow taking out 4 cars. Scott Goodyear, Scott Brayton, Danny Sullivan, and Scott Pruitt. And then this accident, a solo accident involving Willie T. Ribbs, putting his car up against the wall. Now, CART has announced the 1992 schedule, and there are some surprises in it. There it is. Start again at Australia, on to Phoenix, Arizona, Long Beach, California, of course, the Indianapolis 500, and then rather than to Milwaukee, on to Detroit, Michigan, then to Portland, then Milwaukee, Wisconsin slides into late June, and then that beautiful little racetrack at Loudon, New Hampshire. Everybody all up and down the line excited that they will be going to Loudon. Toronto, Canada on the 19th of June. The rest of the schedule then on to the Marlboro 500 at Michigan, then to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin a bit earlier in the year. That should be nice. Denver, Colorado on the 23rd of August, back to Vancouver, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the New York area. They're hoping that that race can be downtown. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and we finish up at Monterey. What's missing from the schedule? Well, if you live in the Cleveland area, you know. Cleveland not on this particular schedule. So what about the situation with Cleveland? How did it all come about? Apparently, it was quite a surprise to everyone. And Gary Gerald earlier was able to catch up with Gene Haskett of Penske Speedways.
Well, Paul, Gene Heskett is the Vice President, General Manager of Penske Speedways, and I know it was with great disappointment that you learned yesterday that Cleveland is no longer on the coming schedule for IndyCar racing in 1992.
It was a big disappointment and also a big surprise to us, Gary. We had no idea that it was coming, that we had no advance notice that Cleveland was not going to be a part of the schedule. We just executed a new 5-year contract with the city of Cleveland about 2 weeks ago and going forward for the next 5 years, so it was a big surprise to us.
Is this a dead issue now, or is there the possibility that Cleveland could yet somehow show up on the schedule?
Well, we think it's very far from a dead issue. I know I talked to Mayor Michael White last night, and the mayor and the various other civic leaders of Cleveland want very much to have this event back in Cleveland, and we think there's a strong possibility in looking at the kart schedule. I know it was announced, but there's 1 or 2 venues on there that has the possibility of maybe not occurring, and either we get our date back or maybe fill one of those other voids.
We'll watch and listen with interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Paul?
Well, we certainly enjoyed a lot of racing in Cleveland, a tremendous fan base in Cleveland. I think maybe what Gene says may be true. There's still some uncertainty in that schedule for next year, and it'd be nice if Cleveland could get back on it. On the other hand, as was pointed out to me yesterday, not too far from Cleveland to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, so it's not like the city of Cleveland is totally losing IndyCar racing directly, and it's so very difficult with the season being what it is and these extremely high-tech machines to put together a schedule that accounts for all the markets that are interested in IndyCar racing and still give the teams an opportunity to get them back, get them repaired, and get them ready to run. We are still under yellow with Michael and Mario Andretti leading in their hometown. 63 laps are complete. At Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Michael Andretti leads the field around behind the PPG pace car. His dad, Mario, is in second place. Bobby Rahal, still trying to hold on to a chance for an IndyCar championship, has moved from 5th up to 3rd in the past few moments prior to the yellow. Ari Leyendijk, with a brilliant run here today, is in 4th place, and Al Unser Jr., still in the points fight as well, runs in 5th place right now. 66 laps are into the record book. We still run under the yellow, that for the most part the area where Willie T. Ribbs got into the wall is somewhat clean. But now I'm wondering, as we come back to green for the second time, are tire temperatures again going to be an issue, Derek?
Again, they're back in the same situation. Under yellow flag conditions, the cars run extremely slowly and lose that temperature. But remember earlier, we mentioned changes of position in the pit lane. I think Leyendijk and Al Jr. took full advantage of that.
The pace comes up, the pace car is off. Look at Bobby Rahal as he makes a move to the inside, coming back to the green flag, and jumps Mario Andretti, picking up second place.
I can't believe Rahal pulled off that move on Mario. It was an excellent restart. Remember, you can race as soon as the green light goes on. So when Michael goes by, the green light's on. Look at Rick now.
Well,
he's on the move.
Apparently that motor's working fine as he comes down inside John Andretti. But John Andretti isn't going to let go of it. John is right there alongside. Oh, there it goes. Rick Mears jumps past John Andretti. So whatever the problem was, for the moment it appears to be fixed.
This is good. We saw Penske's take the top off that car. I presume they replaced one of the electronic boxes, and the car is back up to full steam. That's Mario right ahead of him.
That's always the hope, of course, is that whatever it is going to be able to be replaced by the electronics on the car. Now, remember, though, Rick Mears did go a full lap down, so even with that battle that he was fighting, he's running down in 8th place.
Oh, now look at this. Rahal really has the bit between his teeth. He is absolutely all over Michael Andretti. So Rahal, for some reason, after the pit stop, he might have made a change to the car. Now look at this. Close it right up behind him. This is turn 2.
The Quaker State onboard camera, Bobby Rahal closing behind Michael Andretti in a fight for the lead, a fight for the championship. And of course, if it would end right now, Michael Andretti would have 217 points, maintaining the lead in points. But Bobby Rahal would be at 200, and there are 22 points available in the final race of the season at Laguna Seca, California. Now let's go down to the pits and get an update from Gary Gerald.
Paul, we're checking with the crew. What they did was they replaced the trigger in one of the electronic mechanisms during that quick stop when they had to peel the cowling off. It's thumbs up down here now, and obviously Rick's back under full throttle on the racetrack. Question is, can he get the lap back?
Well, at least they were able to find something wonderfully simple to repair and take advantage of that opportunity.
And luckily, it was a yellow flag situation they were able to take opportunity of, because at 22nd laps, you can lose a lap or two so easily here. Luckily, Mears did not lose that amount.
What about the second place runner, Bobby Rahal? Here's Jan Beekes.
Thanks, Paul. Well, Derek was talking about they must have made a change on the car. In fact, they did. But Barry Green said a very minor change. He said just a little bit of tire pressures. But wow, what a difference that's making on the racetrack. Shows a little change down here. Bobby Rahal really has the bit between his teeth.
And in the run on this last lap, Michael Andretti has established yet another record. As of the 73rd lap, he has led 824 laps this year, which surpasses Rick Mears' single-season record of 823 set back in 1982. Talk about a championship charge. The dominant driver this year, but who has had failures that have not plagued Rahal. Michael either wins or doesn't do very well. Rahal has just been consistently in the fight with only one win.
And we mentioned it before, Michael is an all-or-nothing driver, but when he finally put that consistency and that consistent pattern together with his all-or-nothing style, suddenly all the points began to mount up. This is his brother Jeff, now that he's going to try and pass.
Jeff could figure into the fight. Rahal is certainly there and ready to attack. Michael Andretti to the outside. Amazing moves here on the outside. Considering cooler air temperatures, Michael's car must be working incredibly well.
Working incredibly well, and that is the major key to success racing here, to have your car handling well, particularly at turn 2, because the slower guys usually go down to the inside because it's the safest way to get through the corner. It leaves you no option but to go around the outside. Michael can do that. He's in good shape.
You got a good view of it there as Michael moved around the outside of Hiro Matsushita, driving for Dick Simon here. And Hiro saw the car in his rearview mirrors, which is a feat in itself on a fast mile oval. Got off the line and gave the course to the leader.
Oh, things happen so fast here, but notice what's happening here. Rahal is not getting the brakes in traffic. Every time Michael moves away, it's because of traffic, but Rahal can close right up. Rahal, I think, has a slightly better car than Michael right now, but he's running second.
Looking down through the top 5, you saw them come through. Mario Andretti, then Lyondike, then Al Unser Jr. Emerson Fittipaldi is 6th, Eddie Cheever 7th, Rick Mears a lap down in 8th. John Andretti runs in 9th, and Paul Tracy runs in 10th place.
Look at Rahal now. He's just lining everything up here. I think traffic, again, is going to play a key role, because Rahal needs the traffic to go his way if he's going to make a charge.
On this very, very fast course, what we're trying to do is give you the best opportunity to see how the front of the field all lines up here. But they're constantly turning here at Nazareth. Look at that. Look at that as Rahal closes right up behind Andretti, using Tony Bettenhausen to punt off of, and gets a little breathing room on Rahal.
Great in-car cameras. We saw Michael dive down the inside, then Tony B took his apex, but he went up high and Rahal got chopped down to the inside. Great in-car camera pictures.
Michael Andretti, you're looking at the Quaker State onboard camera that is situated just over Bobby Rahal's shoulder. The battle for the championship, the battle for the race itself, all manifest here in the fight at the front of this field. Michael Andretti, you got a glimpse of him as he works around this track. Lateral G's at a course like this, Derek. Are there many?
A lot of lateral G's. There are no drivers out there that do not use some sort of support to hold their helmet and their head up. We see Michael here has a huge cushion to the right side to hold his head up, because it's impossible physically for your neck muscles to hold it up all by itself.
You saw a glimpse there, the graphic of the how the contenders and the points fights are running, and if it ended right now, well, Michael Andretti has picked up the single point for leading the most laps already. So he would end with 218. Bobby Rahal would be back with 200. Al Unser Jr. would be out of the fight. And it would take us Laguna Seca, California, with 22 points available. And Bobby Rahal still with a chance to take the title away from Michael Andretti. Though given the position Michael's in right now, his championship looks to be in very good shape. What Michael, of course, would like to do is finish the championship here. He certainly has all of the strength of the hometown crowd behind him. Michael Andretti completes the 90th lap, approaching the halfway point here. But his nemesis, Bobby Rahal, is just behind him. 3 times times in the championship fight throughout the history of the Kart Indy cars, Michael Andretti has finished second place in the point standings, twice to Bobby Rahal. Now the positions are reversed. Michael Andretti would certainly hope that not only can he maintain this position, but that Rahal wouldn't be able to maintain second.
Rahal needs to hang on to that second place because he wants the championship to go to Laguna.
You were wondering about A.J. Foyt. There's number 14. There he is. Not only has he started well here, he currently runs in 10th place. And just in front of him is Paul Tracy. So A.J. Foyt, the oldest driver here, and Paul Tracy, the youngest, in adjacent positions here on the track. A.J. was complaining about a rib that he had pulled a cartilage on his right side. But he said, I'm going to get in that car and go racing. As far whether or not this is his last race, anybody can say anything they want. A.J. will decide race by race, I'm sure of it.
Most people talk about his foot injuries. He said it really doesn't bother him here, even though he uses that left foot pretty hard sometimes down at turn 3, but it really doesn't bother him because when everything warms up inside, the adrenaline begins to flow, you very quickly forget any injuries that you have like that.
Pretty good view. There's Eddie Cheever. He runs currently in 8th place, making that conversion over the past couple of years over from Formula One to the Indy cars quite well, and no doubt on the verge of his first victory. And he has been watching along with his team owner Chip Ganassi. There was a test at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin by this team, the Newman Haas organization, where Mario Andretti, not Michael, but Mario, tested the new Cosworth engine. And Derek, the reports were pretty sound.
The reports were good. I mean, the fact that it ran 200 miles trouble-free in its first test was a very good sign, because when you test an engine, it's consistency and mileage testing that you want to get overall before you actually go for ultimate speed. They're definitely showing interest in that team, or in that engine, and we're just going to have to wait and see what decision Carl Haas makes.
No announcement yet. Speculation has been that Newman Haas Racing will use Cosworth engines next year. And also, Chip Ganassi has expressed a lot of interest. No new information on the new Ilmore engine, except that maybe a suggestion that it will carry a Buick nameplate on it might be a little premature. Bobby Rahal chasing down Michael Andretti. Michael has stretched out all of a 1.3-second lead, but that's the largest distance he's had in the lead thus far today.
And at a place like Nazareth, that is a huge lead because things happen so fast here. What we're watching in the top of our screen here also is Bobby Rahal is about to have his mirrors filled with Michael's dad, because Mario is on a charge.
Mario, without question, closing on Rahal. Ari Leyendyk is 4th. You're looking back from Bobby Rahal, and that is Mario. The lens doesn't really do total justice to the position. Mario, in reality, is right there, this Quaker State onboard camera, as it looks backward from Bobby Rahal.
And you can see Mario, that's turn 3. This is where we said all the action happens. You see Mario closes up, then begin to slide up the banking.
Turn 3, the critical turn here as Michael Andretti screams across the line, completing the halfway distance in this race. So should anything happen now in one more lap, it will be an official race. And when I say anything happen, the possibility of rain, you saw at the start of our broadcast here that there was a 70% chance of rain. It doesn't look like that possibility really exists now. Seems to be clearing.
And Dennis Vitolo in the Edge-sponsored car, one of Dale Coyne's cars, moves aside, moves up into the high groove, and lets the leaders get on their way. Dennis Vitolo, this is a one-off deal, one-off sponsorship program by Edge shaving gel. May turn into a full deal for Dennis Vitolo next year, but he's had a good weekend here, behaving himself, qualified reasonably well, and still running well in the race here.
And it's just the kind of program that Dale Coyne, as a car owner, has been very helpful with. And just having that opportunity where you can go get your hands on a car, help a sponsor out, is the kind of thing that attracts new interest in the sport. Dennis, by the way, has also been trying to race unlimited hydroplane.
Well, that's right. That may be part of the program, but one of the things that they got involved with this promotion was they went to 14 different drug emporium stores here, dragged the car around, showed it to everybody, and really got great exposure for Edge.
But look at this with the traffic. Bobby Rahal now closes the interval. He was 1.3 seconds just a few laps ago. As they came across the line the last time, he was only 4/10 behind. And look at him now. When he saw Mario come up behind him, Rahal really kicked it and has caught up now to Michael Andretti.
And now look at the traffic jam right ahead of Michael. He outside, so he decides to go on the inside because that's Jeff, his brother, but he doesn't make it. Now look at Rahal. So suddenly, for a change, the traffic goes Rahal's way.
Bobby Rahal sits now right at the back end of Michael Andretti. Mario Andretti is only a few feet back as well as Michael comes around Jeff Andretti. Now, look at Michael as he comes outside of Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi sees the traffic and comes low. Mario Andretti is waving at both of them, I think trying to get Fittipaldi's attention to say, hey, I'm here too.
Well, what about that? Emerson made a nice move there to stay low. He knew he wasn't on the pace of the leaders here, so he decides to let them go ahead and race the race themselves. This is turn 2 again. How fast we get back to turn 2. We just mentioned in the last breath. There's Michael. Goes on the high side, but look at Rahal.
Rahal lines up behind Cheever. Cheever comes down to the inside line. On the high side is Tony Bettenhausen. Bettenhausen as to the outside. Rahal feeds down to the inside, and Michael Andretti maintains the position.
High speed. They qualify over 175 miles an hour average. The race speed is always so fast here, but look at Michael being hounded by Rahal, and there's Mario, watches from about 5 or 6 car lengths back, but the traffic for once went Rahal's way.
Bobby Rahal continues his pursuit of Michael Andretti, and we stay here right at the front because not only is this the battle for the lead where things could change in the flick of an eye, it is also the battle for the PPG championship. As Rahal still right there, you get a little flash occasionally off the rear wings at the corners of these cars. There you see it on Rahal's car. That's a vortice that's a product of not only the wind turbulence generated at the corner of the wing and the swirling effect of the wind, but it's also the fact that it's very humid here. Rahal circles outside and still tries to find position, but here is Mario. Mario's right up behind Rahal.
Rahal had to back off at turn 2. He couldn't get by John Jones as cleanly as Michael did, and Mario takes advantage, draws up about 4 or 5 car lengths.
Michael Andretti, the Quaker State onboard camera, continues to try to hold off Bobby Rahal. The interval is separated now to 0.7 of a second. Michael Andretti driving the best of his career and looking for a championship, and all he needs is a little good luck here in Nazareth. At Nazareth, Bobby Rahal continues his charge, and now he is at the back end of Michael Andretti, trying everything he can. But Derek Daly, look at the left front nose wing on that car.
There is something wrong with the left front side plate on Rahal's wing. The left front wing, the outside side plate, is definitely beginning to bend. Now, I don't know whether he hit something or whether it's just coming loose, but definitely that could cause him problems if it breaks off.
It is a component that helps channel the wind flow around the car and especially around the wheel properly, and to make sure that everything runs smooth with that critical front area of the car. No telling how it happened, whether it is a structural thing that's changing or is it a result of contact.
We don't know, but there's a traffic jam about to come up again here. Now, Rahal got a great run in traffic about 5 or 6 laps ago. Now he comes to the inside of Michael.
Rahal comes alongside Michael Andretti, but Michael keeps his foot down. He can't get it done. Mario Andretti is still running in 3rd place and still right there just behind. Now there is traffic that lies ahead as Rahal moves to the inside. Michael Andretti sweeps well to the outside, then comes inside his brother Jeff and picks up the advantage. But look at Mario. Mario is right there challenging Rahal. Mario tries to sneak the nose down the inside. Mario runs a very, very tight line on Rahal, but he still can't get it done.
Traffic, traffic, traffic. That's the big word we use here all the time because that changes the face of the race so often. We saw Rahal try to get by Michael. Now look at Mario. Tries to go around the outside of Rahal.
Rahal continues his pursuit. A.J. Foyt running a high line just ahead of Bobby Rahal. As there is a great deal of traffic that lies ahead, the traffic could be to the advantage of Mario Andretti because Mario is right there, still right behind Rahal and trying to pick up the 2nd place. It's definitely working to the advantage of Michael Andretti right now.
Mario almost has Rahal. He actually got trapped behind one of the Penske cars there because he took a big run at Rahal, pulled down to the inside, and didn't have enough clear track because of the Penske car.
Well, Quaker State onboard camera view backwards as we take a look at the Pioneer race recap. That's as of 115 laps with Michael Andretti leading 84 of the 115 to that point. 2 caution periods, one right at the start, another when Willie T. Ribbs got into the wall, and those 2 accidents have accounted for 5 different car cars out of the race. The average speed, nothing to brag about just yet. The fight continues at the front of the field. These were all out on the very first lap, all in the same accident. Started when Scott Pruitt got sideways, apparently a car hitting the brakes hard in front of him, and then Willie T. Ribbs in a solo accident against the wall. All those drivers being reported fine, no injuries.
We mentioned traffic here, Paul. Remember, there is not just a race for the lead here going on. Everybody in the, all the way back down through the field is fighting for their own position. So although they do try and move aside and give the leaders as much room, remember, they need to use the racetrack also. That's what makes it difficult.
Look at Rahal as he comes up to the inside of Michael. Takes advantage of Michael getting caught up behind Tony Bettenhausen. And now Bobby Rahal takes the lead of the race. Michael back to second place. Mario is third. We talked about how quick it happens here. There's an example of it.
And we saw exactly how it happens from Rahal's car, but he's straight into the pits.
And Rahal heads immediately for the pits, the 124th lap. Jan Beekes is ready for him.
No sooner does Bobby Rahal take the lead, but he's coming down pit road. They had already given him the sign to come in right as he had taken the lead. Let's see how fast they can get it done. We are taking a look at that front end plate that you guys were talking about. Does not, oh, there he goes. He bends it back. Should not be a problem now. They're just waiting for the fuel. 13.8 seconds. Whoa, he lights him up, gets sideways. He's on the way.
The pace car parked right on the exit of the pit lane just ahead of Rahal. He really pitched it as he came around. You saw how much, not only did he light the tires, but had to pitch the back end as he comes back into the fight. Of course, that gives Michael Andretti the lead. It was almost as if Rahal was making a statement. Yet, man, it's not over yet.
Remember what happened at Elkhart. Michael was not the faster car on the racetrack, but he always got the lead in the pits. Rahal led, came into the pits. Now we got to watch what happens in Michael's pit stop.
And of course, if you make this consideration that the racing laps here are running 21, 22, 23 seconds at most, and the pit stop takes 12, 13 actually stop, roll in, roll out. Now you get an idea of how critical the performance of the pit crews are in this. You saw Michael Andretti's crew laying out, expecting him at any time, and now on the entrance to the road on the backside of the course, they use the warm-up lane to get down to the pits. Here is Michael Andretti as the leader of the race, and Gary Gerould is waiting for him.
Team manager Ed Nathman waves the sign frantically. Michael comes in, precisely hits the marks. No hint of a lockup or a skid, and it's so critical to be right on target. We see the rubber change as expected. Fueling hose is intact. There is a slight adjustment, a half turn in the front wing, a little more than that on the right front side now for Michael Andretti. He's off the jack. 14.8 seconds.
Mario Andretti stopped at the same time. Bobby Rahal flashes across the line as he comes onto the first turn into the second. Michael Andretti is on the pit road accelerating. Where will the two come out? There they are together, and Bobby Rahal reassumes the lead, and Michael Andretti pulls out right behind him. So with the stops, the positions 1 and 2 remain the same. Rahal was just able to pass him before the stop, maybe picked up a little bit of advantage in the stop, and Rahal keeps the lead.
Half a second or 1 second, which is a small amount of time, would have made a huge difference there for Michael Andretti. But Rahal keeps the lead.
Mario Andretti makes a stop at the same time. Michael Andretti continues his pursuit of Bobby Rahal as the fight for the championship continues at Pennsylvania International Raceway. And there is Michael. Now, when we talk about the lead here, I guess it is proper that we should point out for just a split second there, Arie Luyendyk, by staying out, was able to get the lead in scoring. So when the charts come out in the box score, he certainly will show up in the fight. Now, here the fight continues. This time, Rahal is up behind his teammate, Al Unser Jr., trying to work his way past. Jan Beekes as Emerson Fittipaldi makes a stop.
Emerson Fittipaldi is now getting underway. They were able to make a front wing change. He pulled a little closer than they wanted to up against the pit wall. It's a little difficult to change the tires. Took a little longer than he anticipated.
So here comes Fittipaldi back into the fight. Went into the pits in 6th place.
Paul, see how long that pit lane is on the way in and the way out. That's what takes such a long, long time. And you mentioned it earlier on these pit stops. It's not just that 12 or 14 seconds that you're stopped in your pit box.
Well, and it's a pit lane like no other here at Nazareth. You actually enter the pit lane over on what is the backstretch, work 2 turns on the the pit lane, make your pit stop on what is an angular pit, and when you accelerate out, you don't actually join the race until the backstretch again. Now let's take a look. This was the battle for the lead.
Now Michael tries to go outside Tony B, realizes that there is no room, backs out of it, and immediately, bang, Rahal slams down the inside, closes the door, takes the line away from him, and it's all over. We had great in-car camera shots of exactly how it happened. Now looking from Rahal's car, look at Michael. He goes on the high side. Tony B closes the door because he doesn't realize that Michael's going to go around the outside, and in an instant, and things happen so fast here, Rahal takes the lead and then has a nice casual look in his mirror.
Here is Michael's view of the same situation as he tried to work high outside Tony Bettenhausen, who went right down the middle of the course, apparently seeing Rahal coming up on the inside. By the time Michael was able to react to it, well,
you saw the reaction right there, Paul.
Exactly. Not real happy with that middle of the road line from Tony Bettenhausen. So the fight continues. For the moment, it's Bobby Rahal that is out in front as he continues a brilliant drive to protect his position in the championship points. But Michael Andretti is still very much there, and the battle does continue. 137 miles complete. Back at Pennsylvania International Raceway, the view down the backstretch as the fight continues. Bobby Rahal has the lead of this race by 2.3 seconds. A nice view just behind him. There is Paul Tracy, who interestingly enough is leading the Penske effort here today in the number 17 car. He runs in 7th place. Emerson Fittipaldi is behind him in 8th. Rick Mears runs in 11th. As we're going to let the entire field just roll right through the shot here, and it'll give you a good, let's just imagine that you were seated here at one of Roger Penske's beautiful racetracks, watching the field come past. The leader of the race, Bobby Rahal, the Craco STP machine. Michael Andretti, of course, did clinch the bonus point for leading the most laps, and that gives him 16 bonus points for the year, compared with just 2 for Bobby Rahal. 16 points, remember, is the equivalent of Vinny's 2nd place in any given race. That shows you the significance, Derek, of the bonus points in this.
Well, that's right. Rahal really felt that he could have got the bonus point for the pole. He really thought he had a realistic chance, but had a bit of push on his 2nd lap, the one that he thought would be the quickest, and ended up starting in 3rd place. Rahal's been around the area for quite a bit of time this week because he opened up his new Toyota dealership in Harrisburg last week. So now Rahal has a Toyota, a Honda, and a Lexus dealership.
Bobby Rahal runs at the front of the field. Then Michael, then Mario, A.J. Foyt coming in from some service from his team. By the way, Mike Groff has been hanging around there most of the weekend and is in the Foyt pits today. And this is not routine.
This is not routine. It's not a good sign when they don't put that fuel hose in. There's no urgency here. AJ, we see the seat belts appear over the side of the cockpit. His day is over.
Not only do we question the day, but now with AJ Foyt, you must wonder every time when he puts his hands down on the side pods, is this the last time that we will see AJ Foyt step from the cockpit of a race car after his incredible career with 67 IndyCar victories, 4 Indianapolis 500 wins. AJ has indicated an interest in racing Indianapolis next year, but only an interest. You see, he's frustrated with this run as the crew tries to calm him. Could this be the last time on the mile for this mile master? 33 mile wins in his career. He's only finished twice out of 8 races thus far this year, but let me tell you, you're looking at the best, the grand champion. Vintage AJ.
AJ, it was Jeff Andretti that got...
Well, yeah, he's all over the goddamn track. You don't know where the hell he's going.
And it was suspension problem that
kept from knocking him through the goddamn wall. I'm tired of this shit. Got people out there that shouldn't even be in the goddamn race car.
Well, you talk about emotion. There's the vintage AJ Foyt, Paul.
Almost circa the confrontation at the start of the Indianapolis 500 with Kevin Kogan. But the emotion that AJ feels so strongly there is also the emotion that carried him to championships. As AJ Foyt climbs out of his race car. Bobby Rahal back at the front of the field. Michael Andretti still second. Mario Andretti is third. There is a lot more happening when a driver pits than meets the eye. Jan Beekes can now explain exactly what happens to the cars. This Track Fact is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Now, here's Jan Beekes.
An IndyCar race is often won or lost here in the pits. It's not just how fast the crew changes the tires or fills it up with fuel. It's often that one minor adjustment made to the chassis that can make the difference. It takes about 14 seconds to fill this Indy car up with the 40 gallons of methanol that it holds, but only 10 seconds to change the tires, leaving 4 seconds left over for the crew to make chassis adjustments. Now let's say the track got slippery and the car started to push. The front tires were sliding. A front tire changer could reach up here and make this wing adjustment, which would put more angle into the front wing, pushing the front wings down and curing those tires from sliding. Now at the back of the car, let's say the car was loose. The rear of the car was sliding around. We can make an adjustment back up here by flipping this tab up and changing what's called a wicker bill. This is a quick release system that was pioneered by the Penske organization, allowing you to slide in a thicker tab here, putting more downforce in the back of the car. Now, Derek Walker was a member of that Penske organization. He now owns this car that Willie T. Ribbs drives. This adjustment right here could save you 0.2 of a second per lap. But let's say it took you 2 seconds to make the adjustment. That could, in the 60-lap period between pit stops, add up to 12 seconds of savings on the racetrack.
Under the green flag, Rick Mears just completes a stop, Jan Beekes.
Rick Mears has been in and out, complaining that the car is very loose. Emerson Fittipaldi is experiencing the same problems. The Penske team is trying to think of anything. This is his 4th pit stop to try and cure that looseness, Paul.
As Rick Mears comes back up to speed, he, by the way, along with Willie T. Ribbs, will be having dinner with the Vice President at Blair House in Washington tomorrow. You didn't get your invitation.
Excuse me, I didn't get my invitation, but I'd like to make a comment about Rick's handling condition. A loose race car is the worst handling condition you could have on a high-speed oval like we have today.
Running through the entire field at the conclusion of 150 laps. Now, we are on the 164th lap, as again, we can just sit and enjoy the entire field coming through. You see John Andretti with a very wide line, and Eddie Cheever trying to handle up Tony Bettenhausen. Fittipaldi running very wide as well. The car's out of the race on the first lap accident, caused, according to Scott Pruitt, when somebody slammed the brakes in front of him. Might have been Michael Andretti. And Scott Pruitt got sideways, and everyone else ran into Scott. That was right after the green flag. And then Willie T. Ribbs in an accident all by himself. Of course, he is still developing his skills on an oval, as is apparently, according to Mr. Foyt, Jeff Andretti. But, you know, the reality is...
Mr. Foyt, are you afraid of him?
You bet.
I'll tell you what, he's taught a few people some things over the years, but I learned some new words that I never heard in Ireland.
The situation, though, is that you have to learn the miles somewhere. You have the Indy Lights Series, which gives you an opportunity to do it, but still, is that anything like an IndyCar, Derek?
Well, it is nothing like an IndyCar. Now, remember also, you're racing with some of the top racing drivers in the world who don't have time for you to move out of their way sometimes. So, you know, they make room. They make room whatever way they can. But remember, this whole afternoon has been dominated by traffic. You have to read it carefully, properly, and safely. Sometimes that always doesn't happen.
You know, I can remember a Derek Daly just over from Formula One at Phoenix, Arizona. We were sitting in a tent together listening to other drivers, most notably, I believe, Kevin Kogan. And you talking about, you were saying, what's it going to be like on this mile?
European drivers and the European racing community in general have no idea really what oval track racing is all about. It is so fast and so exciting, but you have to experience it and see it on a regular basis to really appreciate it. I would love to see a good oval track run in Europe.
No contact at the front of the field. Bobby Rahal runs alone in the lead. Michael Andretti is second. Rahal trying to overhaul Ari Luyendyk right now, who is the 4th place car. You may have gotten a hint there of Rahal from time to time trying to gesture to Ari to, I think, get his attention, let him know where he is. They both come alongside Tony Bettenhausen. Ari Luyendyk, of course, would like to keep Rahal from coming around. The battle continues to be at the front of the field, and there is the Mears car back in the pits again. A long day for Rick.
Not a good day. Look, they're down looking at the back of that car. He still obviously has a loose condition. Now, what they do, that when they change tires, they will make adjustments to those tires, maybe a smaller amount of stagger on the rear, or change the tire pressures, which helps the car to push. It obviously was not enough.
Let's go down to Jan Beekes.
Paul, as we mentioned, he's having a severe loose condition. They are now actually changing the corner weights on the car. You can see him working on the front suspension. We're trying to get a look here right next to, oh, now they're actually changing the toe. I'm sorry, now I can get a better view at it. They're actually changing the toe angle. Maybe Derek can tell us a little bit more about what that does out on the racetrack.
When they change the toe, these cars basically run with the front wheels at a toed out angle. Now, if the car turns in too fast, which is what Rick has, they actually take away some of that toe. Now the front wheels will point straight ahead. The car does not turn in as fast, which actually helps that loose condition.
Now, Rick Mears still gets dinner tomorrow with the vice president. Fellow Hoosier Page doesn't. Yesterday, it was Michael's birthday. We had a little party for him here at the track, hoping to celebrate a championship today. At the front of the field, with about a 10-second lead over Michael Andretti, is Bobby Rahal, looking for his second win of the season and an opportunity to stay in the battle for championship points and for what may be his third PPG Cup championship. At the moment, if the race were to end right now, Michael Andretti would have 214 points. Bobby Rahal, the leader of the race, would have 204. And so without question, the race resolves in Laguna Seca, California.
And Rahal cannot get past Arie Luyendyk. So Luyendyk has obviously got his car running extremely well, which must be because Michael Andretti is not catching Rahal, but Rahal cannot find a way past Luyendyk. Luyendyk has obviously turned the wick up a little bit.
There's 20 laps to go. Next time they flash across the start-finish line, average speed of the race coming up now to 129.7 miles an hour, not near the record of 148.5 miles an hour set by Danny Sullivan here in 1988. Twice championships have been wrapped up here at Nazareth before. Emerson Fittipaldi concluded his championship run here. And of course, last year Al Unser Jr., despite smacking the wall mid-race and badly damaging his car, and in fact a trip to the hospital, wrapped up his championship here. Well, if the race remains the way it is now, we have only a battle for the race itself. The championship will go on to the final race of the season at Laguna.
And Rahal is in control here. He cannot pass Luyendyk. That really is not his big concern. Remember, on the radio and also on his pit board, the only information he wants to know is where is Michael. And as long as Michael is still far behind, now he's only 8 seconds behind, Rahal still is not concerned about Luyendyk, as long as he can control where Michael is.
So Bobby Rahal continues to run in the lead. Michael Andretti stays in second place. A sad note to report to you today. Last night at El Cajon Speedway in California, USAC midget driver Kara Hendrick was fatally injured. 22-year-old Hendrick had just set a new track record for full midgets. She was also a close personal friend of many IndyCar and ARS drivers. Bobby Rahal continues the lead. He stretched it out just a bit despite his battle with Arie Luyendyk. Now 14.2 seconds ahead of the second place Michael Andretti. And here comes Vitolo, who made a very quick turn into the pits. Quite a sudden and abrupt turn as Vitolo rolls down the pit lane. The car appeared silent as he made that turn in.
And he's rolling, so we hope that he can actually clear that pit lane entrance and actually make it all the way to his pit. But I'm not sure he can get that far.
So Rahal, Michael, then Mario, then Arie Luyendyk, then Al Unser Jr., Eddie Cheever, and Paul Tracy.
And John Jones moves over to let Rahal get down the inside. John Jones having a bit of a lonely day here because remember, he does have the Buick engine. It's the normally the stock block Buick engine, which doesn't have the power of these other Chevrolets. So he's had a lonely day, but he is putting mileage under his belt.
Doesn't have the power given the balance that they have created here in kart racing. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you're still looking at the Buick being a very powerful plant. And here is Bobby Rahal making the turn down toward the pit road. Rahal here in the closing laps of the race, what should be the last stop of the day. Michael Andretti has yet to stop. Jan Beekes waits for him.
Bobby Rahal brings it down. They have 12 gallons of fuel in the tank, but they only need to put 8 into Rahal's car. It won't take very much time. They went ahead. They took all 12 gallons of fuel, so they make sure they definitely have enough to the end. Now, is Michael going to have to stop?
Boy, it's great to see a race, though, where fuel is not the issue. As Rahal accelerates, look at him. He got around Vitolo, just what you were talking about, Derek Daly. Had to drop a wheel off. That could have been a very precarious situation as Rahal comes up and comes to the line just as fast as he can. Slides in behind Fittipaldi and Luyendyk. Fittipaldi moves to the inside, and Rahal comes back up to speed. Now Michael Andretti, the leader of the race. Mario Andretti second. Rahal dropped back into 4th place as a result of that stop. But of course, Michael will have to stop as well.
Well, a sudden turn of events here. Rahal makes the stop, gets a quick splash, then he has to go through that chicane that Dennis Vitolo has created on the warm-up lane, which is also the pit exit, but another unusual turn of events.
Let's get a further update on Rick Mears, Jan Beekes.
Rick on pole today, but a lot of problems.
You know, something I think was going away in the rear suspension. We don't know yet until we get it back and pull it apart and take a look at it, but the car just got looser and looser all day long. You know, we'd make changes to try to take it out, and it'd be, you know, it'd help it for a little bit, and then it'd just go right back again, and each time it got worse. So there at the end, it was going so slow, it was in everybody's way, I felt like, and it was still loose. So we just...
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Michael Andretti now pulls his car onto pit road as he makes his stop. What will happen relative to the rest of the lead of the race? Gary Gerald's there.
He needs and will get 3 gallons. He has the luxury of 3 extra laps. He's out quicker, 4.2 seconds for Michael Andretti. Can he get the lead from Rahal?
Mario Andretti, who was running behind him, comes into the pits as well. He accelerates on that special lane, comes onto the grass, jumps across around Vitolo's car. That should be a legal move, though, because of the blocking car.
My word, how did he get away with stuff like that? You can get the car so sideways. We saw him kick that grass up. Remember, he didn't know Dennis Vitolo was in that exit lane.
And that is just like turning across ice, isn't it?
He was lucky to get away with that. That was why he didn't try and pull the car back down to the warm-up lane of the pit exit. He just shot straight across onto the racetrack.
And here is the fight for the lead with the stops. Arie Luyendyk picks up the lead. Rahal is right behind him in 2nd place. Michael slid into 3rd place now with just 3 laps to go in the run.
Does Luyendyk have to make a pit stop? Suddenly he comes into the picture. He's only got 3 laps to go.
Arie Luyendyk looking for yet another win this season. Can he do it? Here is a car that has been troubled throughout the season in the Granatelli team, not with the financial support they would have liked. And Arie Luyendyk very suddenly moves from being a 3rd, 4th place car into being a definite contender, if not a potential winner in this race. Here's Gary Gerald.
And here's the gamble, Paul. Remember how pit stops work to their advantage at Phoenix on the mile? They're going for it. No stop plan for Luyendyk. And the emotion here is suddenly electric in the Luyendyk pit.
And they have no choice now. The white flag signifying 1 more lap to go has been shown to Arie Luyendyk. Just behind him is Rahal, running in 2nd place. Michael Andretti is 3rd, but Arie Luyendyk continues to pour on the power, and Arie Luyendyk takes the checkered flag in the final laps here at Nazareth. Pennsylvania International winner is Arie Luyendyk. Just that suddenly, with 2 stops, the Granatelli team takes the chance. Morris Nunn, Peter Parrott on that team did the calculations. The yellow flags most certainly figured into the situation, and Arie Luyendyk leads only 6 laps in this day. We mentioned he led earlier into the yellow. Look at Vince Granatelli. They can't believe it. Gary Gerald is right there.
Vince Granatelli, whose call was it to stay out, and how big a gamble was it?
Morris and I just, we had enough fuel. We just stayed with it. You know, we planned to race the whole way this way.
Terrific job. You did it at Phoenix. You come back and you get one unexpectedly to everybody here.
Well, we had our system last time. We finished 9th at one race, 5th the next, and we won it, and the same thing happened here.
Terrific job.
Thank you.
Paul?
Just 6 laps he leads in this race. That accounts to a little over 3 minutes of the race led by Arie Luyendyk. But the lap that mattered, the final, the 200th lap, and Arie Luyendyk takes the win. Ari Leyendyk has taken the win, just congratulated by Vince Granatelli, and Gary Gerould is right there.
Well, Ari Leyendyk has come out of here, and my, how dramatically this race changed in the final laps.
Yeah.
You've got to take your hat off to that crew. Mo Nunn, Vince Granatelli. That was a gutsy call.
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't think I was in such a good position. I knew we might catch up a position or two at the end with fuel because we were very marginal on fuel, but we just made it, of course, and I really owe this one to the crew qualifying. We had a bit of a problem, and you know, the car was handling beautiful today, and Vince and the guys, Morrison and everybody did a great job.
Well, you did such a terrific job of keeping it on the lead lap because Rahal was creating the pressure right behind you, and had you lost that lap, there's no way then you could have ended up here.
Well, I knew that, and of course, as you saw, I didn't give him any room at all, and I didn't, you know, I kind of blocked him, but that's the name of the game.
And of course, that didn't help the fuel situation, having to run that hard and use up more fuel.
Well, I didn't really run any harder. I just ran more defensive, I think. And in traffic, I picked my way through, which I think was very important. The first car to get through the traffic can usually, ahead of time, make a little bit of a planning, and I think that's where Rahal sometimes lost out.
Career win number 3, number 2 on the year. A lot of satisfaction for Ari Leyendyk. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jan Beekes?
Bobby Rahal, you had the whole thing handled, and then in the end, he didn't have to make a pit stop. Did you think he had it won?
Well, yeah, I was surprised. I don't know how he made it. I don't know how he made it, frankly, but he did. We beat Michael, so I guess that's a big thing.
Well, you still have Laguna Seca.
Well, yeah, we're still in it. We had a good race. I don't know how he did it. You know, I thought I was lapping him there for a while, but in fact, he carved me up pretty badly a number of occasions to keep me from lapping him, and you know, just I didn't know that it's amazing he got great fuel mileage. Much better than us or Mario or Michael.
Thanks, Bobby. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
And Michael Andretti is out of his car, and the important thing for you, of course, is the championship. And I guess the net of all of this drama with Leyendyk and Victory Lane, you lose only 1 point. And by leading the most laps, you're going to have a 12-point lead going to Laguna Seca.
I'll tell you what, I got to thank Ari for that. You know, I'm glad their strategy paid off, and I think this was almost like a win for us, the way the day went, and you know, I'm very happy.
Competing here, we've talked about the emotion of the hometown and how badly you want this championship. Is there disappointment because you couldn't get the win in front of the hometown folks today?
Well, you're always disappointed when you don't win, and you know, it would have been nice to sew it up here, but it's going to be a dogfight next week. You know, I think now all we got to do is finish the race in Laguna, and we'll be all right.
And you've got a week to think about that whole scenario and set it up, and maybe that lifelong dream is just right around the corner.
It's going to be a long, long week.
Well, we wish you well in how you deal with it all, and we'll, of course, talk to you at Laguna Seca.
Thanks, Gary.
Congratulations, Michael. Paul?
I'll tell you how long it's going to be, Michael. It's going to seem like 2 weeks because you're not going to race there until 2 weeks from now on the 20th, Sunday the 20th of October. And of course, we will have coverage not only of that event here on ESPN that will decide the championship, but also the Marlboro Challenge on Saturday the 19th. And remembering that Bobby Rahal, 4 straight years in a row from 84 through 87, won at Laguna Seca. Michael Andretti has never won there. The championship fight is still very much alive. Three times Ari Leyendyk has won in his IndyCar career. This European-trained driver, always on ovals, Phoenix, Nazareth, and of course the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And Ari Leyendyk wins here at Pennsylvania International Raceway. Let's consider this championship looking ahead to the run in Laguna Seca, California. If Rahal would win at Laguna, Michael will need only to finish 6th or better to wrap up his first IndyCar title. That computation is done without including the bonus points. A critical moment, Derek Daly, was when Michael came running out of the pits. He really took a chance.
And this pit lane is very narrow. It's a long, long left-handed turn. And Michael, remember, at that stage was trying to beat Rahal. He's the only one he thought about. But what he doesn't realize is around the corner here, Dennis Vitolo is stopped. So, boom, he takes to the grass and realizes he can't get back on the racetrack there, so just drives straight across. And remember, it's Rahal he's trying to beat, but to his surprise and amazement and our shock, it was Leyendyk who pulled the gamble off and it paid off.
I think even more shocked than Michael, stunned is the word for that man, Bobby Rahal, who is really surprised at the mileage that Luyendyk got. Perhaps we can get an update on that situation now from Jan Beekes.
Well, that's right, Paul. When we talked to Bobby, he said, how could he possibly make it? We're here at the fuel tank that Arie Luyendyk used to make the difference. Let's think about it for a sec. They give you fuel here for a 1-mile track. But when you check the computers of the cars, it works out to be 0.93 of a mile. That's a 7% difference. That works out to be about 8 gallons here in this fuel tank. If we look closely, there's about 15 gallons left here. They played that strategy. It gave them the victory. Now, Gary Gerould is standing by with Mario Andretti.
Mario ends up in the number 5 spot. How costly in your mind was having to make that last dash to the pits for the splash, Mario?
Well, it was costly, you know, obviously. I was running third at the time, and yeah, you know, it pushed me back. I lost it in the pits because of that stop.
So much has been said about Michael's bid for the championship and his emotion in his hometown, watching you as a youngster and now on the threshold of his first championship. But I know that that competitive fire still burns very, very bright inside Mario Andretti. You, I'm sure, thought this was a terrific opportunity to steal one and win this race today.
Yeah, especially the way it was done, you know, like, you know, with Luyendyk winning, you know, he didn't figure in. He was not that quick, not that competitive, but he played the cards right, and obviously it worked for him. But again, you know, I would have loved to be able to win it here. But I think the important thing right now is Michael's championship, and he fought very hard today. Our cars were really quite good. You know, I don't think I could have asked for too much better. Just the way it went. Probably used up a little bit too much fuel in the second stint.
Well, Mario, we congratulate you on a gallant effort. I know it's going to break through, and it's going to happen sometime soon. We wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Well, there's another Andretti who fared well today, and Jan Beekes is alongside him.
And John Andretti, you had a great beginning to the race. You're running strong, but then it turned into a long day.
Yeah, all of a sudden the Pennzoil car just started like hooking where it was trying to spin itself out through the corner, and we don't know why, but we made some changes in the pit stops, and you know, it just we just couldn't correct it.
Hey, one of those changes that you went to make was changing that wicker bill. We actually did a feature on that, but they had a problem with it, didn't they?
Yeah, it cost us a little bit of time in the pits here and a lap on the track, and you know, sometimes they get caught up in there and you can't quite get them out and in as fast as you like. So. But, you know, the rest of the day, it was just trying to, you know, basically not get in too many people's way and just stay off the walls.
Okay, thanks. We'll look for you for the Pennzoil car in Laguna Seca.
Thanks, Sean.
John Andretti finishes in 9th place. Well, not quite number 1 just yet, but the possibilities are looking stronger and stronger, as Michael Andretti will simply have to finish 6th or better at Laguna Seca. This race here today won by Arie Luyendyk, Rahal in 2nd, Michael 3rd, then Little Al, then Mario. These, of course, are all unofficial. It'll be posted as official after a 30-minute interval at the end of the race. Cheever, Tracy, good run for Paul Tracy, Emerson Fittipaldi, John Andretti, Tony Bentonhausen. In the final standings here in the 200-mile run, Jeff Andretti, Hiro Matsushita, John Jones, good run there. Dennis Vitolo should make an impression on that new sponsor possibility. And Rick Mears, A.J. Foyt, Willie T. Ribbs, Scott Pruitt, Scott Brayton, and Danny Sullivan. Now we're from Ribbs on down in cars that fell out of the race, and Jeff Wood did not start the run here. What does that do to the points? Well, it means that the point fight is still very definitely open, most certainly at the top of the order. Michael Andretti leaves here just 12 points ahead of Bobby Rahal. Al Unser Jr. is now out of the championship fight. It is simply between Michael and Bobby. Paul Tracy with a really great run today. Right now he's with Gary Gerould.
A 7th place finish for Paul Tracy, but the important thing was the fact that you finished, and I know that's what this team wanted today, as did you.
Yeah, it was a tremendous opportunity for me to even be back out here in the Mobile One Penske car. To, you know, you say it's a dream come true to drive with this team, and to get a second chance after what happened at my first time out. It's a great opportunity for me, and we did what we planned to do this weekend, and that was finish the race and run strong during the race.
And how does the leg feel after the Michigan crash and the rehabilitation and now a couple of 100 miles here at Nazareth?
Oh, the leg feels great. It hasn't really bothered me all weekend, and I could probably go another 200 if I had to.
All right, congratulations, Paul.
Thanks.
Let's go back to Paul Page.
Keep an eye on that young man, Paul Tracy. Over on the podium, They begin to celebrate the win here. And of course, this race today was the final set for the Marlboro Challenge field. Michael Andretti has the pole when we run the Marlboro Challenge on the 19th of October. Rick Mears will start alongside, then Fittipaldi, then Bobby Rahal. Al Unser Jr. will start in 5th place. Danny Sullivan, John Andretti, and Ari Luyendyk, all winners thus far. Mario Andretti locked up 9th place here today, and Eddie Cheever, right on that first lap accident, picked up the 10th starting position. Eddie has really been driving very well this year. Wouldn't it be nice if he scored his first IndyCar victory at the richest per mile race in the world, the Marlboro Challenge, and its tremendous purse of $920,000. We'll have coverage of that here on ESPN, as well as the final run. Rahal, a little battle yesterday, arm wrestling over the Marlboro Challenge. Mears and Rahal for the big bucks. Just one race left to go in the 1991 IndyCar season, and the fight for the championship will continue at Laguna Seca, California. Well, Bobby Rahal said it, Derek Daly. Where did he come from? Ari Luyendyk, who stayed in 4th place, actually picked that up on the first pit stop.
Well, the critical time, Ari did pick up a lot of time on that first pit stop, but the whole race came down to lap 125. Rahal made his pit stop, but 5 laps later, Luyendyk came in, lap 130. Interesting enough, Al Unser Jr. also came in on that lap, and he didn't have to stop. So that's when Bobby Rahal goes back to have a look at the lap charts, he'll know exactly where Luyendyk got the mileage.
That one little 5-mile difference made all the difference in the world. This team showed the confidence that they could run to the end, took the gamble, and it paid off. Ari Luyendyk truly not in the fight of the race until right at the end. A couple of last thoughts from two guys who did a whale of a job in the pits today. First, Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, for consistent action, it's really tough, in my estimation, to beat the mile ovals in IndyCar racing. Time and again, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Nazareth, wherever, we see great racing action. My hat's off to Morris Nunn, Vince Granatelli, those people, and all the adversity they've had this season without major sponsorship to sneak through with a surprising one where they just pulled it out of the hat in the last full laps here. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Gary, you talk about Morris Nunn. This is where he sat. This is where the difference was made. Sitting here in the Vince Granatelli pits, they made the call out onto the racetrack, decided to stay out there. It was the deciding factor. He had enough fuel. What a great day.
And Jan, you better get down out of there before Morris Nunn catches you up where all his secrets are. So, Ari Luyendyk with the win. A Bosch-run car in a Bosch-sponsored race. So he certainly made the sponsors of this event happy. And I think it's made all of IndyCar racing happy, because we take the championship to the very last race of the season at Laguna Seca. Paul Page for Derek Daly, Gary Gerald, and Jan Bigas. So long. We'll see you in Laguna.